Is Moor Podcast. We are back once again. What's up, YouTube? What's up, SoundCloud? What's up, Facebook? Wherever you're listening. Got the two regulars in the building. So, you want to say what's up?
What up, though?
So yeah, man. Guess we'll get started. I was trying to think of something to say there.
Trying to be that super cool guy.
Drew a blank. But yeah, Is Moor Podcast. Thank you so much for joining. We always have to start the show with that. Thanks for sharing the link to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you have not subscribed already. If you're listening on YouTube, it is free to subscribe. Please subscribe. Email us at blackismore@gmail.com if you have questions or comments.
2 O's, 1 R.
That's right. Yes. Thank you. MOOR. Black is MOOR @gmail.com. Thank you. 3 topics for today. 1 current event. Well, actually, I guess 2 kind of current events, and then 1 may spill into some historical things that we'll talk about. Some police officers got dismissed from their duties last week, I believe, because they got caught on video doing something stupid.
Right.
There was a bombing, a chemical attack in Syria, which the U.S. responded to. So we'll kind of talk about that a little bit and how maybe there are some ties to things that have been happening here. So stay tuned for that. And then lastly, we'll talk about something very interesting called genetic memory.
Yeah.
So all these things, of course, relate to the black community. So just stick around and see how they do relate. How about that? But yeah, first topic. So like I kind of mentioned, last week, Gwinnett County, which is in Georgia, police officers were caught on film. I guess they pulled somebody over. I'm not even sure what they pulled the guy over for. But something very common that we've been seeing in the last, I guess, like 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Police officers kind of abusing their authority. So, you know, the social media, cell phone, everything's recorded age that we live in. Somebody pulled out their phone just randomly. They saw somebody getting pulled over, and this gentleman was a black guy. Got out of the car and his hands were completely up, like he was not a threat.
Right.
So he just put his hands up, and one of the police officers just runs up on him and bows him in the mouth. And I believe he eventually got him on the ground, and then his partner comes in and kicks him in the head.
Yep.
All this is caught on film. So as a result of that, these guys have been fired from their job, which is, you know, absolutely appropriate thing to do.
Right.
And all 89 cases that they were working on. So if these officers, just to put that in some context, if these officers were helping to investigate a crime, or they wrote some kind of ticket and, that led to an investigation, they had 89 events that they were involved in investigation wise. They have been dismissed because, obviously now that these guys' character is, come to light, and they not about shit pretty much. The court has dismissed all 89 of the cases that they were involved in.
Mm.
So, what did you think about that when you saw that video?
Man, a few things came to mind. Number 1, whoever was the person that came up with the idea, fuck that individual at Pepsi for that bullshit commercial. This is why. This is why.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Number 2, I thought I was watching a WWE match.
I know.
It was like a tag team match where a guy just comes.
I know. Coming off the top rope.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to stump dude to the head and watch his head bounce and come up.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. 3, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that in that
Really?
short amount of time, those officers were fired. When I first saw the video,
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah.
when I first saw the video, I just assumed that it was going to be another officer or another two officers that were just going to be suspended with pay. Let the
Right.
let the
Right.
case die down, and then go back to a normal life. But
Yeah.
Gwinnett, you shocked me. I'm
Yeah.
I'm actually proud of you guys somewhat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the fact that they, had those people, in the department the first place, but hey, they can't control everything.
Right.
So,
Yeah. True.
can't be hard on them like that. But yeah, I'm shocked. I'm kind of happy that, the way that they handled everything. Are these guys going to
Right.
be facing any like criminal charges?
I would assume so. I'm thinking there's. Well, I saw a lawyer who I guess was representing the gentleman who got assaulted by the officers. He was kind of speaking about some things, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be some legal, ramifications. Like that guy's probably going to sue those two individuals.
Right.
See, now that they're not attached to the police department, they're just going to get sued as individuals. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that's my take on it. Another situation in which a minority is treated very unfairly. Like, oh man. And then that's just on film. We don't know how many minorities were, bothered like that last week or even murdered last week. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't the only one, but that was the one that was caught on tape. But yeah, it's very unfortunate. I hope the brother, whoever, that guy was, I hope that he can bounce back, because something like that is traumatic. And
yeah, seriously.
yeah, it's terrible.
He'll probably never feel comfortable around officers.
Right.
The
Exactly.
rest of his life now.
And shout out to Bill O'Reilly, and Geraldo Rivera for the guys who were getting that Kendrick Lamar's lyrics on All Right. When the Po Killers in the Street Force show, he got mad at that and was like, hey, that causes black people to go out and murder cops. Well, I'm sorry. The cops are really trying to kill us. Those lyrics are real.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to those bozos.
Yeah, and I was thinking that too, man. Like, how many times has this happened, without the film being there to catch these guys? And I don't really care for the social media age we live in, because I feel like a lot of times when people record, they should be actually doing something to help the situation.
Exactly.
But this is one of the instances that, it was used in a positive way.
Right.
To actually get these guys out of the police force, man, because that's messed up, man.
You don't know what really bothers me when it comes to today's age, where, like you were saying, like with social media has made it okay for the news, and this is what bothers me. The news actually shows the actual footage of someone getting murdered.
Yeah.
And as people, we're becoming immune to watching a video of someone actually being murdered.
Yeah, you get desensitized.
Right.
Which is not something you want.
Exactly.
As a society.
You do not want that.
You don't want public executions and murders and shootings and killings to just be something that people can stomach.
Right.
And I think because that leads to tolerance,
Right.
And that's kind of what you were getting at.
Right.
But yeah, that's the social media age, man. A lot of gripes with it, but this is, like I said, one time that it was used for good. So
yeah, it's a huge psychological battle, because not to knock anybody with, that's homosexual, that's your, hey, if you choose to do that, hey, I support you. But at the same time, that's what they've done to, in society. They've filmed, so many homosexual acts to where everybody's like, hey, it's okay. It's acceptable. It
Yep,
used to
it's
be
normal.
looked at as like a disease. It used to be looked at as something, that isn't exactly normal, because a lot of times people
Mm-hmm.
are homosexual because of their past experiences, getting
Yep.
molested and stuff like that. But now everybody's like, "Hey, it's okay." Because they show it on TV so much, everybody's immune to it.
Yep.
So it's like, "Hey, it's whatever." And that's the,
Mm-hmm.
same way that they're doing with these killings.
Right, that
They're
concept, yeah.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
people,
All right, cool.
yeah,
They so yeah, hopefully these guys go to jail, man, because that's I mean that's like I don't know, that's a career field that you can't just, you got to have integrity, man, and we're finding out more and more that like you said, towards minorities, it seems like that just kind of gets thrown out the window, and I think it's kind of showing a change in the times that they did fire these guys, like you said,
right.
and so hopefully that is something that continues, but yeah. So another current event, like I mentioned, there was a chemical attack in Syria. I want to say like 2 weeks ago, something like that. It was pretty much everywhere in the news. Like this was all over CNN,
Right.
and Fox and all these other major news companies. And so I'll give as many details as I can to kind of give everybody some context if you don't already know what I'm talking, or the event that we're referencing. So Syria, and I guess this is just a place that has had a lot of internal conflict for a while. I'm not really sure why, but their president, Assad something, I'm not sure his last name, but he used chemical weapons on his own people. So in response to that, President Trump ordered a missile strike on one of the, I guess, an airfield or something that was owned by Syria. And, there's a lot of talk about was it legal, blah, blah, blah. But he did it.
Right.
Whatever, it's out there. So I guess what we want to focus on is the chemical attack part, because, that is what kind of sparked this. And and this is not something that we were gonna dive into, but just some food for thought for people. And I don't know, maybe I mentioned this last week, but if I didn't, I'm just gonna put it in your brain again. But so before this chemical attack, right? There was a huge investigation going on, and I think it's still going on, between Trump and his campaign and his connections to Russia.
Right.
So after the chemical attack, now Russia and the U.S. are not friends anymore, or their relations are in jeopardy because Russia is supporting the Syrian government. So, to me, this is all a distraction. Not to get off topic, but that's just something that I wanted to point out, because that just investigation on Trump against Russia, or for his connections to Russia, chemical attack, we bombed Syria. Russia doesn't like that. Oh, all of a sudden Putin's like, the U.S. is just, so that's just something to think about. Do your own research on that. But anyway, just to get back on track here, the chemical attack part. I know there were some things you kind of wanted to discuss with that. Yeah. So I'll just kind of let you have the floor and
honestly,
open it up a little bit for.
Yeah, honestly, I just want to say, like, this isn't the first time that we've witnessed any type of, chemical warfare. Like, we've had it inside our own country, years ago. And what I'm referring to is the crack epidemic. I'm referring to crack cocaine. Like, you go back to like the 70s and 80s. Basically, our own government officials, our own government, dropped these drugs off in black and impoverished neighborhoods, and it was basically used to mess up the community. When it comes to like ghettos were first used on Jews back in the day, and once they saw the study on how Jews reacted, they also used lab rats, and they put them into a terrible environment, and they such as the ghetto, and they saw how they reacted, and before you knew it, they were turning on each other. Their behavior was like totally different, and that's basically what they've put black people in years ago. They put them in the ghetto. So, this is nothing new. But with that, when you throw in drugs, chemical, like, cocaine, crack cocaine, like that's really huge. And my thing is, no black person had the money to get a boat, to get a airplane and ship tons of cocaine and distribute it out to all of America. It's impossible.
Yeah. If you've seen American Gangster and you're listening, that ain't how that shit got here.
Right.
All right. That's not how it got here, man. It's a movie. All right. And you're exactly right. And there is so much factual data to back that up. I remember even hearing like some White House officials from back in that time frame, like come out and say that they were trying to target black people.
Right. And look, I just want to say this. I understand that black people aren't the only ones affected by drugs. Right. We understand that. Yep. But the intent was to destroy the black community.
Right. Yeah. No doubt in my mind that is, and like you were saying, the chemical attacks and things just happening, in our country and stuff. I've read a lot of things about during World War II, they would test chemical weapons and things on black soldiers,
right,
before they did it out there in the, and they wouldn't give these guys medical treatment.
No,
they wouldn't even tell them what they were doing.
Nope.
Just because it was done in the military and to people that's on your same side doesn't mean it's not a chemical attack.
Exactly.
That's completely immoral. We could dive into that, but
we could talk about Tuskegee experiment, but that's going to be for a later episode. Yep. But stuff like that,
and that's very similar.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. The Tuskegee experiment, and going back to the crack cocaine and stuff being kind of put into the communities. I know this is a documentary we've referenced before, but if you have not watched 13th, the Netflix documentary, because they touch on that on there.
Right.
That is a great resource for you to kind of get some more information about that. And, just like if you just think about it logically, like you said, think about just the time frame and the historical timeline that black people have went through, right? So, we were brought over here as slaves. Mm-hmm. Then they freed the slaves. Slaves didn't have resources. We didn't have like you said, we didn't have the time, money, all these things to be able to build up capital, to be able to,
right,
export goods from overseas. That just was not happening. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, with the crack epidemic, the chemical warfare, that was an excuse for them to put black people in jail.
Exactly.
Again, another thing that they talk about in depth on 13th. So,
yeah.
But yeah, man, that just, it's kind of hypocritical as a country that we're, we're defending this, and I don't want anybody to be attacked by chemicals. So if we're trying to stand up for, some people who are being attacked, that's cool, but it's very hypocritical that,
right,
our country has done that to its own people.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, let's just look at the consequences, right? Like you said, black people, you're getting locked up. First time offenders, you're getting crazy sentences as if you murdered somebody.
Right. Yeah.
And the craziest thing is now, meth is popular, and opium and stuff like that. But those types of, drug issues are more so Caucasian related. And do you know what they're doing these days with that? They are creating programs for people who are getting caught with these drugs. They're creating programs for them to, I guess, basically like a rehab program. Instead of going to prison, they're giving you an option to get rehab. Black people are never going to get that option. Every time you get arrested for using crack or whatever drug, you're going to prison. You're going to jail.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's
Yeah, and
my biggest issue with the consequence. Like any drug that, more white people are using than black, they'll find a program, they'll find something to help these people
mm,
with without giving them actual sentences.
yeah, yep,
So,
yeah. I remember Van Jones. He's a CNN correspondent, and
smart guy.
he's a pretty big advocate for just social issues and things like that. But I remember him getting on CNN, and he was kind of talking about I don't know what topic they were on, but he said that I used to live in the most drug ridden environment that you could imagine. Like I would walk in a room and people doing lines, needles everywhere. Right. And I'm paraphrasing, so you might have to look this up if you're a listener and you kind of want to get this from the source. But his point was that he's been in an environment where drugs were just everywhere, and nobody got arrested. You know where that was?
What?
It was at a prestigious Ivy League white college.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. I do not remember the name. Hold on, actually, I got my phone here. I'll look it up as we're talking. But yeah, so you're exactly right. And he said himself, he said the exact same thing you said. When those kids, if one of them were to get caught, they're not going to jail. They're going to rehab.
Right.
And that is a product as well of just probably their families and having more resources. Having money to say, hey, I'm gonna hire a lawyer to say we're gonna go to rehab so you ain't got to go to jail and things like that. But it's just not fair that black people are not really given that opportunity.
Yeah,
and that option.
I mean, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100. It's called white supremacy. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, he's white. Oh, he got some money. Oh, yeah, we'll just throw him in rehab. Oh, we got a black dude? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he going to prison. We're going to lock him up. Like, it's easy.
Yeah.
And, like I was saying last week, it's, we're born to lose, but we're built to win. Like,
yeah,
that everything, as soon as you're born black, you have, particular odds stacked against you, especially, the particular environment that you're in. And, psychologically, black people are, they've been battling these psychological wars for years. And some black people feel like, things are good. It couldn't get any better. But they don't understand that it's continuously going on and on. And, you see the effects of people. And especially when it comes to drugs, like, you got family members killing family members over it. It's sad. Marvin Gaye, I think he was using, crack cocaine. Yeah. And his father had to kill him, And it's just sad. And, it's torn families away because you have, people using this drug that they rather, find a way to get that and leave their whole family behind. You have, mothers and fathers leaving their whole families with children, for this particular drug. And, you got, people making jobs out of it by distributing it. Now, I had a Caucasian person come up to me and was like, but what about, the people who distribute? What about them? How did the drugs get there in the first place? Like, as black people, we have a hustler spirit. I'm not going to say it's definitely not right to distribute drugs. It's definitely not right. But at the same time, it's this thing called jobs. If you don't put jobs in the community, it's survival of the fittest. Black people are going to try to figure out some type of way to make some type of money. If I see this guy who's selling drugs and he's making money and, he has a cool lifestyle, a lifestyle that's better than worrying about when my next meal is going to be, then you tend to be, open to doing something like that. But as people, since, most of us are in the situation right now to where we thinking about doing something crazy like stealing or whatnot, we don't have to worry about that. We're not in those people's shoes. But for the people that are, I understand why they do that.
Yeah.
And it's not okay, but
I mean,
I understand.
yeah, no, yeah, and you said it perfectly, man. Like they just, they don't have the opportunity to make the money to get the things that they want
Right.
any other way.
Right.
And hey, look, we're not making excuses for drug dealers and for people who do drugs or distribute it or anything like
Not
that.
at all.
That's not what we're doing. But what we're saying is when these lifestyles are glorified, essentially through media and music and other things like that. Maybe that's a topic we can kind of talk about one day.
Right.
I'm sure that would be good. But people are gonna do what they need to do to survive.
Yep.
And then on top of that, I just thought about it. But if you put crack in the community, right, and you send people to jail, when they get out of jail, they can't get a job.
Exactly.
So they have to, do something illegal to put food on the table or feed their family or, have a lifestyle where they don't have to be worrying about how they're gonna keep the lights on and things like that.
Right.
So, I mean, I feel like those people are very much a product of, an environment that was set up to, have them fail.
I mean, yeah, just think about what it does. Like if you used crack cocaine, there's people who they stole anything. They would steal from family members, steal from friends, steal from regular people. They will pull a knife on you, pull a gun on you, anything in order to steal something from you that's valuable so they can get money in return so they could buy the drugs. Think about all the stuff that, happens in the process of being addicted to, crack cocaine. Just think of that. And then think of the consequences. Before you know it, you have a fiend out community and there's no advancement. there's no true hope from a community like that. And you wonder why, some successful people, once they become successful, move out their hood, that they don't come back because of stuff like that. And, like you were saying, when it comes to this podcast, I don't want to seem like I'm glorifying or being okay with anything like that. My true reason for doing stuff like this or talking about topics like this is to basically find out the why, to understand why.
Right.
So when the next time you see somebody going through something, you say, this is why they're doing this. And from that, we figure out some type of solution to help them. And I want to let everybody know we're not doing any type of excuses for anybody. It's not about excuses. Right. It's just uncovering the why. So,
right. Yeah. That's, man, I couldn't even, that was perfect. Cause that's, that is the point, like you said, that is the point of the show, man. I think societally, if that's a word, in society,
right.
We, I think we tend to just read a book by its cover. You tend to just judge.
And write them off.
This person stole something, or this person doing drugs, so they're bad. Yes, that act is bad, but like you said, man, you got to dig deeper, man.
Right.
You have to dig deeper. So
yeah,
I agree, 1,000%.
In today's world, since we have the internet, social media, and stuff like that, it's so easy to not even want to try to dig into something.
Right.
If it's not right there in front of you, next to, on to the next one, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's, again, we say this all the time, but when we talk about these things or we talk about these topics, anything we talk about really is to spark interest and spark conversation. I think our goal is to just have you hear something that we talk about and bring it up to a friend of yours.
Right.
Maybe somebody who doesn't necessarily agree with you, and see what their take on it is, because we're not just trying to make this one-sided. The way you get change and the way you get progress is by talking to people on the other side of issues. So do your own research on this. Look up that stuff we were talking about with the Tuskegee experiments and the World War II experiments on black people and chemical warfare, and the crack cocaine epidemic, and how that led to people going to jail. Watch the documentary 13th. It's so much information out there that you can do or find rather to learn more about this stuff.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, so last topic. This one I'm kind of interested in, man. I'm kind of intrigued to see where this goes. But genetic memory. So I'm not gonna mess this up. I want you to be able to explain it the right way. But I know we were talking a little bit about it earlier, and I have a good idea of what what it entails. But I'll let you kind of explain it to the people.
Yeah. So basically, I came across an article on Facebook. I didn't read too much of it. I just scanned right through it. But basically, it was just saying that the way that black men treat their black women and their children, how they become somewhat heartless or just I guess just removed from them or easily removed, right? Is because of this thing called genetic memory. Now, in the simplest form of trying to define it is basically having, memories pass through genes to the newest generation. And, I also read this other piece where the magazine was, basically asking, like, if you were to, have memories from ancestors stored in your DNA, how would they get there?
Right.
And they basically said the memories would have to shape the genetic material in a way that could be carried on to your children. So firstly, you would have to, have the memories before you have children. But then, they would have to impact your genetic material in a way that would be manifested in genetic material of your child. So if that hasn't happened, then there's nothing to unlock the memories. So, like, I was thinking when it comes to slavery and how that's impacted, the black man. So think about how the black man had to witness his woman being raped, by master or anybody on the plantation that was white. Also, his children being raped. But then also, them being beaten. As a black man, looking at that, you have to remove yourself emotionally to stay alive, to stay sane. You have to do that.
Right.
And in turn, from generation passed down to generation, that gene, that memory of seeing, black women being taken from you, and also you having to, be shipped from plantation to plantation or from state to state and not ever seeing your family again, you have to remove yourself from that feeling of loving your wife or your black woman or your children. You have to remove yourself. So as we fast forward today, we see a lot of fatherless homes. We see a lot of black men mistreating their women or not appreciating their women. And as I believe that genetic memory, is a reason because of that. Now, like I said, there's no excuse. There's no excuse, but we're trying to uncover the why. And, I really believe that that's something that, the black man, gets passed down from generation to generation. And that's the reason why they're so easily removed from, I guess their children, their women. What do you think about it?
Yeah. So before I comment, because I agree 100%, and it made perfect sense. Well, I would say I had to like kind of understand the concept and do a little reading, but after I did it, it makes sense, and I'll use a comparison for people to kind of maybe help them understand it. But just to sum that up for people, so what Sale is saying is, genetic memory. So within your genes, you can pass things down from generation.
Right.
If there was a traumatic enough event that it would actually physically change your genes before you had kids, right?
Yep.
And for black people, that was slavery.
Right.
Okay. And so now let me tell you why this makes sense to me. And I think I was telling you this, when we were kind of initially talking about this the other day. But to me, we're just essentially we're animals, right? Everybody even though we're humans, we are a type of animal, right?
Uh-huh.
And when I think about animals, particularly dogs, there are things that they were bred to do, that they were genetically, I guess, trained to do hundreds of years ago, that when they're born, they just know how to do.
Right.
Like if there's a breed of dog like a border collie that is traditionally used for herding sheep, you don't have to really train it how to herd the sheep.
Right.
It just knows to do it.
Right.
There's something that has been genetically ingrained in that animal, to say, hey, when you go out here and you see these little fluffy things, you keep their ass in line.
Right.
So, essentially, that same thing, that's a simple concept that just helped me understand it when I was first hearing you talk about it. But that same thing has happened, to black males, and that. What do I think about it? I think that's something that I wasn't necessarily considering at first.
Right.
As far as the reason why some of the black homes and things may be not as strong and whatnot.
Right.
Because initially my first thought is about like how there have been a lot of things done to just break up the black home.
Oh yeah.
Like the drug epidemic and like the mass incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff is very interesting to me, man.
Right.
Like just how the body and mind can just have influence throughout generations.
Yeah.
And that it makes sense to me as well on the lines of like how like IQ and things like that kind of translate through generation. Like if you have two parents who have a pretty high IQ, chances are their child will just have that genetic makeup to be smart as well. So,
and
yeah, man, definitely interesting stuff, man.
Yeah, and going off of that, on the lighter note or the wider note, when it comes to, I guess the wider.
Did you say the wider note?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. For the reason why I say that is because, the white people who talked about it back in like the 1940s, they were basically talking about genetic memory for the prodigies, the kids that were basically blessed or gifted with these crazy abilities. Say like you're a violinist at 4 years old,
right,
and you're just like the dopest ever. It's because of your genetic makeup. Something happened previously to where you could just pick it up and you're just automatically great at it. And that's how they were using genetic memory. But when it comes to slavery, like you were bringing up the other stuff, the breaking up of families, whether it's, stupid movements or just freaking drugs or anything like that. It's also a reason when it comes to slavery, like these guys witnessed so much. Like I couldn't even fathom to really, like it's messed up, man. Like to see women, they probably got, some of their body parts cut off that they saw their children being mistreated. Bruh, if I had a child and they were, mistreated, I'm going crazy. But in order for you to stay alive, you have to remove yourself from that. So, I believe that we just need to, start having better mentorship. Need to, start just trying to understand where these people are coming from, where the kids are coming from, and trying to, give them more positive role models. Because that's what's lacking, in our community these days. Not enough role models. If you don't shoot a nice jump shot, or if you can't throw or catch a ball, chances are your role models, your mentors are pretty slim. So we need to, up the mentors in the black communities. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to touch on because, like I said, I always say, psychologically, slavery has messed up the black community so bad.
Yeah, man.
So bad.
Yeah, it has.
and we just need to uncover
and you hear
the
a lot
lies.
of yep, and you hear a lot of pundits, I guess people who are just I guess kind of on the other side of the argument, who just say that slavery was so long ago, there's no way that it could impact black people now.
Right.
And when you have evidence like we're talking about, like the genetic memory, and that's clear as day that it still is.
Right.
And you have to, like you said, there's no way we can, as we're sitting here talking and as we're sitting here listening, if you're out there listening, fathom what these people, like the emotions and the trauma that they actually went through.
Right.
But just imagine, like, or you don't have to imagine, but just this is what they were faced with. They were, like you said, they had families, wives, daughters, sons, and they were being taken out of their homes, and they knew that they were being raped, and they were faced with this decision: do I do something and lose my life, but stand up for what I know is right? Or do I, keep my mouth closed and at least I'm alive to be here and support my family? Right. Like, what kind of decision is that to give somebody?
It's tough.
Like how could that have not affected somebody?
Right.
And just kind of change their mental makeup.
Right.
So like I said, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, because like if you
just kind of hear we're like,
if you decide to go crazy and just try to kill them and they end up killing you, then your wife and your children are still going to be tortured regardless.
Yep.
So it's like, do you stay alive so they can have something to, to look for? Or do you just try to go ham and, kill whoever's mistreating them? You wind up dead and they still get tortured. So it's a tough decision. And it messes with people mentally.
Yeah, man.
And, people need to understand the easiest way, and not to, slam agencies, but that's, for agencies like the CIA, it's always a psychological battle. You think you could be free all you want, but when it comes to just entertainment, when it comes to like music, movies, news and stuff like that, it's always a psychological war. So you can think that things are getting better, but they're easily fighting the war with psychological stuff, and it keeps rolling. It's a machine that just keeps rolling.
Yeah, and I think like you were saying with the mentorship and just ways to kind of combat that, and for black people to just come out of that. And another thing which we try to do every episode, and I hope we're doing that for people listening, is just to identify these things, because a big part of it is just knowing. Like if you're ignorant to something and you don't know that it is an issue or a problem, there's no way you can combat it.
Right.
So, heavy stuff, interesting stuff. Like I said, the genetic memory, like that just really intrigues me, especially like since I'm in the career field I am and kind of working with mental health issues and stuff like that. That stuff is really intriguing, but it's definitely something, again, we encourage you to look into. Again, don't take our word for it. Do your own research. We are doing the research as well, but do your own research. Never take our word for it. Formulate your own opinion, please. So
never.
But yeah, man, that's good stuff.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, that's I guess that's our 3 topics for today. Hopefully, people can take something away from it.
Yep.
I want to say thank you again to everybody who has been very supportive.
I appreciate y'all. Seriously.
That can be a good avenue for us. Please subscribe. Email us, blackismore, MOR. And you can just type in Black is More on YouTube, and we should pop up. Just look for the logo with the fist and the headphones. And yeah, man, tell some of your friends about it.
Yeah. Our perceptions are reality. Black is more.
That's right.
MOOR. Remember that.
That's right.
But we out.
Yep. Y'all take care.